What is macro in Dead by Daylight? Does it matter? And can having good macro senses make you a better Dead by Daylight player? The quick answers are game sense, yes, and absolutely yes. But we're not looking for simple answers today. So we're going to nerd out on macro just a little bit to hopefully help folks have a better understanding of macro, as well as showcase our own Survivor Q gameplay where we'll talk through how you can develop your macro senses in your games. But first, let's demystify macro a little bit. There's been a huge influx of new players to Dead by Daylight this year, which is great for the overall bottom line of Behavior Interactive. But on the flip side of that, those new players are left to largely figure out the game for themselves. Dead by Daylight does a lot of things well, but educating players about the game is not one of them. And maybe you were in this position too when you first started Dead by Daylight. Where do you begin? A lot of players will often go onto YouTube and search for a tutorial. Some people don't know what to look for though, so they'll search for something like, how do I become a better survivor? Or how do I loop? Eventually though, they'll likely land on a few videos that can help them with some basic skills. But the skills they're acquiring, although very important to know, are usually what's referred to as micro. And micro is not macro. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what the hell is the difference? I just spent 2 hours learning how to moonwalk like a young god, you dick. Isn't that enough? Don't judge me. It can be really hard for players to differentiate between micro and macro, but think of it like this. Micro is your individual skill expression with a character. It's referring to your mechanical proficiency. Micro teaches you how to loop. Macro, on the other hand, tells you where and when to loop. But it's also much more than that. It's your ability to understand what's happening around the map even when you're not there. To start thinking about macro, let's shift how we think about the entire game of Dead by Daylight. If you were describing the game to somebody new, you'd probably say something like this. Dead by Daylight is a 1v4 asymmetrical horror game. That's accurate. The game certainly is that, but that's a very surface level definition. Let's go deeper and think of the game this way instead. Dead by Daylight is a time and resource management game where each side tries to punish their opponent's mistakes to help secure a win. I'm gonna leave this on screen for a second to let you read it again and really let it sink in, because I think once you frame Dead by Daylight in this way, macro begins to make a lot more sense. Okay, got it? Cool. Macro can be difficult to define because it involves so many variables that switch from one game to the next. It's knowing who your killer is and their abilities, the layout of the map you're on, where your objectives and resources are on the map, how to deduce what perks and add-ons the killer is running, knowing which perks your teammates are running, knowing where your teammates are, understanding where to take chases, and predicting what moves the killer is going to make. It's a lot to take in, and macro can feel overwhelming when you first start to wrap your mind around it. But I think that's the special ingredient that makes Dead by Daylight so fun to play in the first place. No two matches are ever exactly alike, so the macro of each individual match is never alike. Good macro sense is something that you will develop naturally as you invest a lot of time playing Dead by Daylight. But today, we're going to share 3 concepts to help frame your thinking to help develop your macro senses faster. Keeping these concepts in your mind while you play will help you to make better choices in your games, flex those macro muscles, and I promise you that they will help you to become a better Dead by Daylight player. Let's jump into a solo queue match. We're going to watch it twice. The first time we watch it, I'll just be riffing off the cuff. When I recorded this, I went with a very stream of consciousness approach, so you could see what somebody might think about as a match is unfolding. The second time we watch the match, I'm going to pause at certain points in the gameplay and really unpack these 3 concepts to give you some insight into how you can develop your own macro senses when you play your matches. Let's jump in. All right, Area Crows. We spawned in. We're on the top right of the map. Okay, we see Claudette, Alan. Ooh, Huntress Lullaby. Okay, she's likely coming from Killer Shack area, but do you have lethal? Let's see if we can bait this. Okay, okay. Yeah, that smells like a lethal. All right. So we're running a boon build. We're going to go upstairs. Hopefully there's a boon up there. And we're gonna set up our boon because Shadow Step is gonna mess with her in a big way. Okay, not there, not in front of the basement steps. Okay, over here. So for those that don't know, there's 4 possible totem spawns around the main building on this map. We just looked at 3 of them. There's another one that's down below, but we ran past that earlier. Okay, boon is set up. This should be really good against Huntress. Claudette, please come over here and use this. Jake is in chase. Claudette just went down, so Jake is somewhere near. Claudette, we're not going to go over there and help. That is a recipe for a snowball situation, so we're just going to sidestep that. Oh, no gens out here in the middle of the map. Okay, does she see us? Is she gonna follow us? Nope. Okay, she is just gonna pick up that Claudette. Alright, I want to see what her next move is. If she's running lethal, she's likely running barbecue. Okay, not coming over here. Let's see if we can set up for a save. Oh. Interesting. She didn't see me there. I'm surprised she didn't hear me either, because my footsteps are so goddamn loud. Are you hovering? No, okay. Heartbeat going away. We're gonna go in for the save. It looks like Alan is being chased right now. Okay. Let's patch you up. The Huntress definitely has a lot of early pressure in the game, but we can still make this work. Oh god, come on! Right as I say that. Alan, wake, buddy. Oh, I just fat fingered that. My bad. I did not mean to point at you. Oh, okay, I'm kissing the Jake. Ho! Alright, that flew wildly at me. Hit the tree. Yes, nice. That tree is my best friend. Alright, she's back on the Jake. So she's very interested in pressuring that right side of the map. But that makes it so we can unhook this for free and reset the Alan Wakebot. Alan Wakebot, please do not disappoint me. Make good choices. Alright, Claudette finishes a gen. That was main gen, okay. So, with no generators in the center of the map, that leads me to believe that this is like 3 gens on each side. That can really be the only split on this map, just because the generator in the main building will always spawn there, and if there's none in the center, there's going to be 3 on each side. So we've got to start pressuring gens on each side of the map if we can. Where are you? Okay, she's sort of going around the main building. She kind of fell for that bait, I think. So we ran through the main building to... If she's running barbecue and chili, she would have seen our aura in there. And we ran into Shadow Step to get rid of our aura. So we're going to slowly make our way around to the hook. She's hovering a little bit. Interesting. All right, let's test if this is Floods of Rage. All right, let's go, Jakey. Oh, Jake said, no, I'm just going to pop down right here and heal. But maybe we could take the chase. This has got to be Floods, right? Turn to the left. Yep, okay. That is definitely Floods. I'm going to guess lethal, barbecue, Floods. We heard her reload at a locker earlier, so no like Iron Maiden or anything like that. That seemed to be a normal reload speed. Okay, she's on an Alan Wakebot, so we're going to get on this gen here. But yeah, this is definitely a 3 gen over here, right? Yeah, one way over yonder. This one that we're on, and there is another one. Oh, right next to us. These 2 gens are so close. Oh man, we're hosed. We're so hosed. All right, the bot goes down right in the middle of this 3 gen setup over here. That is not ideal. She's gonna hook him like right here. That is the best spot to hook him. Oh yeah, you're going right there. All right, let's get the hell out of Dodge. Maybe I can get her to chase me over to that side of the map and somebody can swoop in and start pressuring these gens. So she sent a hatchet all the way across the map. She definitely has barbecue. Interesting. Ooh, okay. Catching a hatch to the back. Concoction? Are you running concoction? Yeah, she's still trying to wildly send hatchets my way. Yeah, she definitely has concoction. Okay. The Huntress is a little feral. I'll say that. I might be able to use this. Oh yeah, the bot just got unhooked. Okay, so I'm trying to come up with a plan in my head. I think that we can pull this back though. But okay, so Jake, let's just take an assessment of where we are at the moment. Jake's gonna finish the gen on the bottom right side of the map. This gen over here is not completed yet, so we're 3 gen no matter what. Like whether he finishes his gen or this one gets done, there's still a very tight 3 gen that the Huntress can hold on to on the left side of the map. I'm trying to decide if, oh god. Okay, this is dumb. You should never do this. I think I'm gonna 99 this gen. And again, This is a very stupid thing that I'm doing, and you should not do this. But okay, hear me out. I want to try to, hopefully, bait this huntress into a chase and lure her over, like, to this area. And maybe a 99 gen will get her to stop and kick it. And buy me some time. Oh, okay. Is that inner strength? Built to last? Why did Claudette hop in a locker? If it was inner strength, it would be right about now. She didn't pop out? Okay, that's definitely built to last. But yeah, so I'm gonna 99 this. This is dumb. I need to get into a chase with her, and I want to bait her into a chase, but I don't want to make it look obvious. I feel like a lot of times if you like run into the killer's face and are very aggressive, they're not going to chase you. So how can we do that? Is somebody going to come back and reset? Both Claudette and Jake are injured over there. Please come back and reset. Okay. Claudette is going to reset. Oh yeah, okay. Built to last, toolbox. She had Bardic earlier. This is a Gen Rush Claudette. I like you, Claudette. Alright, can we go be a Gen Rush demon? Where's Jake at, though? There's the Huntress. She's probably just gonna patrol those gens. Yeah. Okay. Jake is probably hanging out in the 3-gen injured. He does not want to be doing that right now. But I don't know where he is. Can I hopefully find him and reset him? No, I cannot. Okay. Yeah, that's the last place you want to be, bud. Oh, okay. Well, let's at least stop this from regressing. This might turn into a game of attrition on this gen, where like we just have to constantly stop it from regressing. Okay, she hit the Claudette. Claudette goes down. Well, maybe this is our opportunity to bait a chase. Maybe Claudette can crawl back to the boon totem. Are you gonna follow me, Huntress? Oh god, I'm eating a hook for breakfast. She's not following me. Okay, is she gonna hook the Claudette? Alright, I'm gonna unhook this Jake. If this is Floods of Rage, I think I have a plan, but Jake, I need you to lock in, buddy. I know you don't really know what your part is, but you play a big part in this. Okay, yep, she's gonna send a hatchet. I'm just gonna run. Hit me, hit me, hit me. Okay. Syringe? Yep, okay. Let's see if that pisses her off, and maybe I can get her to follow me around the map. We're gonna run edge map because she's a little aggressive with her hatchets and sends them right away. Oh yeah, I can juke this all day. Oh god, she's aiming at her demons. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, follow me, follow me. I'm healed now. Oh, she's gonna have to, yep. She's reloading. I only counted 6 hatchets though. Maybe she only started with 6, not 7. Look at this gen here, Huntress. Don't you want to kick this? Look at this 99 gen. Again, this is really stupid. You should never 99 gens like this. This is a very dumb idea. Oh god. Oh, I'm eating a fucking bush. Okay. Wow, okay, so Jake went in, rescued Claudette. They're both reset now fully. She is still chasing us, ego chasing. This is why you don't ego chase. Alright. Hopefully that syringe like pissed her off and now she's invested. Alright, nice. Jake's gonna finish that gen on the top right side and Claudette is over on the bottom left gen. By Killer Shack. Yep, cool. Alright. I think my evil plan worked. Nice, okay, she doesn't have pain rise. I'm still unsure what her last perk is. She's definitely running Lethal, Barbecue, and Floods of Rage. It's likely another aura reading perk, but I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm glad she didn't have pain res, but I was almost positive she didn't. Alright, are you gonna... Yeah, hit me, I don't give a shit. I've got endurance. Chase me, follow me. Jake, buddy, where you going? Where you at? Oh, Jake is hanging out at that corner. Jake, that is the last spot you want to be, my guy. Oh... This poor Jake. It's like he has a magnet up his ass that attracts Huntress hatchets. Alright, cool. And we're out. I'm just leaving. I earned this today. I'm just leaving. Okay, that was interesting. I might use this match to actually illustrate some macro stuff. But let's see. So Claudette was running, yeah, Stakeout, Built to Last, Hyperfocus, Bardic, yeah, definitely a Gen Rush Demon. Jake, Dead Hard, Iron, Hope, and Finesse, and then the Alan Wake bot was Resilience, Finesse, Dead Hard, DS. Huntress though, Darkness Revealed, that was the last perk I couldn't figure out. Okay. Alright, we're going to watch the same match again, but I'm gonna pause at certain points in the gameplay, kinda nerd out, and try to thoroughly explain my decision making and rationale. It's been about a week since I've played this match, so returning to it today is going to be interesting as I dissect my own gameplay. This is kind of weird. I've never done this before specifically, so let's hop in. So the very first thing I like to do on every map is figure out where the hell am I? This fits into that map knowledge category. And I think it's really important to know where you are in a map, even if you're a solo queue player, because if you don't know where you are, it's much harder to know where you're going. But I know this is the top right side of the map immediately because of where I am in relation to the main building over here. So there are some community agreed upon conventions for map directions. And on most maps, the main building is always going to be at the top or north side of the map, and the killer shack is always in the bottom or southern side of the map. If I know where I am, in relation to those two structures, I can use some rough triangulation to always know where I am. And, you know, that's kind of the great thing about DBD. You think it's a horror game, but it's secretly a math game. Prove me wrong. Now, one thing I will say, that rule doesn't necessarily apply to indoor maps or on Haddonfield because they don't have a killer shack, but those are definitely exceptions to the rule that you would just have to memorize. But if you want to deepen your map knowledge, honestly, the best way is just to play the game and try to memorize where the main building and killer shack are on various maps. But if you want some type of like visual aid to help you out while you play, I would definitely recommend Hens' maps on his website at, I think it's hens333.com/callouts. Those will give you a very basic idea of map layouts. Now, unfortunately, there's no resource that exists that will ever tell you where everything is on the map, and that's because the maps in Dead by Daylight are procedurally generated, but like big structures, the main building, killer shack, other big buildings, those are always static spawns. The location of those doesn't change, so if you know where those are on the map, you'll always know where you are on the map. So right off the bat here, I saw my two teammates. Claudette was over here, Alan Wake is working on that gen, but I hear the Huntress's lullaby and I immediately stop here. Typically, what I would do is try to get away from my teammates, but because I hear the Huntress's lullaby, I stop here and turn around. And the reason why I do that is the Huntress's lullaby has a radius of 40 meters. And if you hear it right at the beginning of the match, it means either she spawned somewhere very close to you, or the more likely scenario is that she's running Lethal Pursuer and can see your aura and is heading toward you. Both could definitely be true though. Either way, we hear her lullaby, so we turn around and use this wall here to block our line of sight. And the reason we do this is because if we spawned in on the top right side of the map, she likely spawned in somewhere in the bottom or left of the map. So way back over here, Killer Shack is right around here. The left side of the map is kind of over here, but she likely spawned somewhere over here. And if she's heading our direction from that part of the map, her hatchets will also be coming from that direction. So this wall is going to provide a little bit of cover, so she's not going to be tossing hatchets in our face. So you can already see the three concepts that we talked about at the end of the intro: map knowledge, awareness, and reading your opponent. This really is an example of using all three of those right now to our advantage. We haven't even seen the Huntress yet, but we're using context clues, map knowledge, and the resources around the map to help drive our decision making. But I do want to bait and see if she has Lethal Pursuer, and one way that we can do that is right here. So we kind of move away from the wall to show our aura for one last hurrah, because Lethal Pursuer is about to run out and she launches that hatchet at us, and we can kind of confirm here that she's definitely running Lethal Pursuer. And this also tells us that she's likely running an aura build, because you wouldn't run Lethal Pursuer in a vacuum. You would always pair it with other aura perks to get value out of it, because one of the secondary effects of Lethal Pursuer is extending the aura read of other perks. We know she has an aura build. There's not really that much to say about this run around the main building. I think I explained the boon spawn locations, so we can just kind of skip ahead a little bit. So yeah, we run to the top of the building, we set up the boon. We are running a Gigaboon build, which in my opinion is a truly underrated solo queue build, but I will nerd out about the Gigaboon build in my next video. So here, Claudette is about to go down. We get the boon set up, and then we start to gesture to her to get over to the boon area because we're running exponential. We also see that Jake is immediately in chase right after Claudette goes down, which means that he was right near where she went down. This is why you want to separate from your teammates at the start of the match, because the Huntress has a lot of pressure at the moment. She has one person slugged and she has Jake in chase. I think a lot of people would see this specific scenario and panic and feel compelled to like want to run in and pick the Claudette up, but that helps out the Huntress much more than the Claudette in this moment, in my opinion. And the reason for that is we don't know yet like what the Huntress's full build is, beyond assuming it's likely some type of aura reading build. But she could be using something like Nurse's Calling and leaving Claudette slugged as bait. She could also be watching the HUD and waiting to see when Claudette is picked up, so she can immediately down Claudette again and try to get a free injury on the person who picked her up. Now, if the Claudette were fully recovered and just needed, one tap to get picked up, and the Huntress was busy in chase with Jake, that's a different story. But you don't ever want to give the killer an injury for free, and this specific scenario has snowball potential written all over it, especially with Jake looping right next to the slugged person. It's way too early in the match to make risky plays like that, but I do see it happen so often in solo queue. So we go to scope out the middle of the map. I have no intention on picking up that Claudette. Good luck, Claudette. But we notice that there's no generators here. So in the best case scenario, if there were a generator here, I would pressure it and hopefully get the Huntress's attention and then be able to run her very far away from where these slugged people are, giving them time to crawl over to the boon totem and, pick themselves up. But when I see that there isn't a generator in the middle of the map, that immediately tells me that my team and I have really bad RNG because we have a 3-gen on each side of the map. Because we're on Area Crows, I know that the only guaranteed generator spawn is in the main building. And if there are no gens in the center of the map, that means each side has 3 gens. And right here, we can kind of see, it's very difficult to see, but the Huntress is down here between the slugged Jake and the slugged Claudette. I'm not sure if she sees me here, but if she chooses to leave my teammates slugged and chases me, I want her to work for it. So I start to pre-run to get a little bit of distance. She doesn't chase me, and that's when I kind of like go over to this side of the map and just wait to see what she does. We want to react in this moment. We don't want to act. When I notice that she picks up the Claudette, that's when I'm starting to think about like moving in for an unhook. I'm going to wait here to see if she's going to move over here, because if she does, I can go back toward Killer Shed. So this was kind of interesting. I'm surprised that she did not notice me here. She shouldn't have been able to see me just based on her field of view, but she should have been able to hear me because my footsteps are really loud. So that possibly means that she's not playing with headphones on, or maybe she's just not very observant. But those are things that you could use to your advantage later on, just knowing those two things. Another thing that we noticed here is she reloads, and we're able to hear her reload speed, which isn't faster than usual. So we can eliminate the perk Iron Maiden from her build, as well as one of her add-ons, Deerskin Gloves. So she continues to reload. We kind of meander over here to position for the unhook. I'm waiting here at this wall and hovering just to see if she's sort of hovering near the hook. We notice that our heartbeat here starts to diminish a little bit, and that's when we move in for the unhook. So at this moment, she's heading toward Alan Wake. She starts chasing him. I feel safe to reset this Claudette, and then we can go pick up this Jake together. And then the Alan Wake goes down, and he eventually DCs, and there's the DC. Okay, hold on. Let's have a conversation about DCing for a second. I'm not sure what would have prompted that person to DC. Maybe it's because they were about to go down. Maybe it's because they see the Hunters doling out a lot of pressure early in the match and they think the match is cooked. I don't know. But I do know that if a player DCs at the slightest bit of inconvenience or sign of trouble, they're going to have a difficult time adapting to various scenarios and getting better at the game. Now, I'm going to give Alan Wake the benefit of the doubt. Maybe his power went out, maybe a giant storm passed through the area, I don't know. But there are a lot of people in solo queue who just DC or give up on hook in so many games that are very, very winnable. This match was definitely not set in stone, and we know that because we already know the outcome. If you're a newer player to Dead by Daylight, or even, a veteran player, my advice to you is this: you're going to have a lot of games where you get tunneled or slugged, or you or your teammates aren't performing the best, or you don't like the killer, or you think the killer is OP. Everybody has shitty matches in this game. Even people who have, 10, 15K hours in the game get absolutely dunked on sometimes. But one of the best things you can do is stick it out. let yourself get put into scenarios where you need to figure out what's the move I can make right now to maybe turn this all around. Another thing that I'd recommend, if you're consistently weak linked out of your matches or you're an early out, don't just leave the match and move on to the next one. Spectate your team. Watch what they're doing. You could learn something. If your teammates are outlasting you in matches, there could be a reason why that is. Just stick your games out, y'all, please. All right, rant over. Okay, so I fat finger here because I'm a potato and we reset the Jake. There's one thing up here that happens that I want to call out because it just strikes me as odd. Okay, so this was interesting to me. The Huntress can't possibly have a line of sight on me just based on where I just was, and her position and my position, and I'm also in a boon area with Shadow Step. In the moment, I'm still trying to get a read on what type of player the Huntress is because I haven't been in chase with her yet, but this tells me that she's either very experienced and is using her own game sense to know where I'm going and predicting my movements, or she's very impatient with her hatchets. One thing that you should always do in your matches is pay attention to how the killer is using their power because that can tell you so much about them and help you to predict their movements later on in the match. One other thing, so right here, this speaks to awareness a little bit that I want to cover. In this moment right here, it's a split-second decision, but there are two possible paths that I could take. You know, I could run to the pallet or I could run to this area behind this tile right here. And I think a lot of players will automatically see a pallet or a window and think, safety, I gotta run there. That's not always the case depending on which map you're on and which killer you're going against. This particular tile is very strong against some killers, but it's not that safe against Huntress. The best thing about this particular tile is this big ass tree right here in the middle of the fence because it has a very like wonky ass hitbox and it's gonna screw over so many hatchet hits. Since we know this, we run to the south side of this tile and put the tree between me and the Huntress. And she sends another hatchet right away. This could be Babushka as an add-on that she's running. I can't really tell for certain though, but this follow-up hatchet feels a little bit quick to me. But the tree eats the hatchet, but that second hatchet, you know, again, feels maybe slightly faster than normal. But anyway, we start rotating around to get the Allen. Okay, so while we're rotating around, we see that Jade gets in chase again, which lets us know that the hunter seems very interested in pressuring that right side of the map. So we unhook the Allen bot and reset him. Claudette is able to finish that main generator, but we do still have a 3-gen on each side of the map to contend with. Okay, so this is interesting too. The reason why I run through the main building here after resetting Allen is because I know that Jake is about to get hooked. I can see that on the HUD, he's being carried, and the Huntress likely has barbecue and chili because she's running an aura reading build. And I want to swoop in and catch just the tip of Shadow Step to mask my aura from the Huntress. So she can see my aura right now. The minute I step into Shadow Step, my aura goes away. And we grab one for the road. We just kind of swoop in, get it, and then swoop out this door over here. The reason why I'm doing that is to hopefully, you know, confuse her a little bit, maybe make her believe that I'm still somewhere in the building and lingering, and she's going to waste some time with that. The effects of Shadow Step will linger after I leave the boon area, and that's long enough to outlast barbecue and chili. As I'm making my way up here to unhook Jake, part of the reason why I go to this side of the map and I rotate around, these tall, you know, weird rocks and all this bullshit in the middle of the map here, these are really great line of sight blockers. That's one of the great things about your crows against Huntress. We don't want her to have an easy time landing a hatchet on us, and these objects are annoying for her to play around. So we're kind of slowly rotating around to where Jake is hooked, trying to get eyes on the Huntress to know how close she's lingering to the hook. And I want to take this moment to test if she's using Floods of Rage. So if Jake is on a scourge hook, the moment we unhook him, the Huntress should see everyone's aura for 9 seconds total. She's going to get 7 seconds from the perk itself, and then an additional 2 seconds because of Lethal Pursuer. We get the unhook. Jake tries to use his powers of stillness to tame the Huntress, but the Huntress immediately launches a hatchet at us right here. This is a shot that she would never make in a million years. But this says to me that she's driven by impulse. She relies too much on her aura perks and just sends hatchets when she sees auras. We can use that to our advantage, and we do later in the match. All right, so she's trying to get eyes on us. It's been about 7 or 8 seconds since we unhooked, and I want to bait and confirm that she's actually using Floods of Rage. So as we're running behind this wall here, she's assuming that we're going to continue running straight. I kind of turn back toward this outer wall. And the reason why I do that is I want to dodge a hatchet that she's likely going to send our way. If she does send it, that lets me know that she's running Floods of Rage. Yep, okay. So that very easily could have hit us if we continued running in a straight line. She launches the random hatchet, it misses us. We can assume it's Floods of Rage. So what we're doing is we're slowly starting to build a profile on the killer. It hasn't been that long in the match, but we already have some good indication for her playstyle and her build. So I continue running to Killer Shack. I don't know if she's gonna follow up with me. I see that she sends a hatchet over there, probably toward the Allen bot. I want to confirm that she's gonna stay on the Allen bot. Okay, she's in chase with him. I want to go pressure one of these gens on the left side of the map, the Killer Shack side of the map. We see her right there. We're just going to hop on this gen here. But you know, the bot is going to do what the bot is going to do, and it goes down pretty quickly. She's going to hook this bot right here in the 3-gen setup. She has, like right now, the Huntress could definitely win this match. Like she has no reason to leave this little area. Like she could protect that bot on the hook and just patrol these 2 gens right here and just throw hatchets at the 3rd one next to the main building if she really wanted to. Right here, we see that she launches a hatchet way across the map. So that's pretty good information. That lets us know that she's definitely running barbecue and chili. So here, I think we catch a hatchet in the back, right? Yep, okay. So that gives us good information. We aren't afflicted with any status effects. Like there are 4 add-ons, I believe. One gives you exhaustion, one gives you incapacitated, one gives you blindness, and one gives you mangled. So we just crossed 4 add-ons off the list that we know she's not running. But because this is an aura build, she likely is running glowing concoction. And we can kind of see, like, I pause here. The reason why I don't like run out is because if she is running glowing concoction, she could probably try to land another hatchet on me like right here. That's why I kind of pause. She sends a hatchet. I feel safe running after I hear that hatchet was by me. I try to make it behind like another line of sight blocker. She's just sending hatchets willy-nilly. And then I plop down right here. I feel safe healing right here because of where the Huntress is. So our hitbox is more toward the edge of this inside of the wall, and she can't hit us with a hatchet from any other direction at the moment. I think the Allen, he gets unhooked here sometime soon, right? And then she launches another hatchet at us. Yep. So like clockwork. She definitely has Floods of Rage. So this is just sort of confirmation of that. But this is where the gears start to turn for me, at least, to formulate a plan for how to finally, tame the Huntress in the late game. Because we have some really good information to use. We know most of her build, but I'm still unsure of her 4th perk at this point. But based on her other perks, I kind of assume that it's another aura perk. We're pretty sure about her add-ons, probably Babushka, although I'm not really sure, but I definitely am pretty confident about glowing concoction at this point. We've seen some of her mannerisms. She sends hatchets right away. She seems very reliant on auras, following up on auras, but she's also a little careless with her decision making, I would say. She definitely appears to have the upper hand right now when it comes to pressure, and that might get her to drop her guard and take a bad chase. And that's sort of what I'm trying to think about right now. Like, how can I get her to commit to a bad chase? So when you're reading your opponent, there are a few things that you should keep in mind. You obviously want to figure out what perks and add-ons they're using, but you should also pay attention to how they're playing. Are they confident? Are they patient? Do they tunnel and slug? Can you mind game them? Just stuff like that. You can use that information against them in future chases. You're basically building kind of like a psychological profile, if you will, on your opponent. So what I'm thinking in this moment is that I need to bait her into a chase, but I can't make it look obvious. If you're ever too eager to be chased, a lot of killers just won't chase you. And I know that she seems to follow up on hatchet hits, so I need to place myself in a vulnerable position where she'll chase me and I can hopefully waste her time. This is basically what I'm thinking about, like, as I'm over here on this final generator. And again, I do 99 this gen, which again, very dumb. Please don't 99 gens. But I do 99 this gen because I want to put a plan in motion, and it involves dragging the Huntress on a chase over to this side of the map. I want to use this generator to maybe buy me more time and chase for my team to hopefully pressure gens on the left side of the map. So I want to set this up as a time waster. I sort of linger in this boon area for a little bit. I'm waiting to see if one of my teammates comes back to get reset. Claudette does. This Claudette seems like a knower. Like, she seems like she knows what she's doing. She's running a gen rush build. She's making a lot of right moves. So I reset her. The Jake, on the other hand, he's somewhere on the left side of the map in the 3-gen setup. I don't know where he is. And, I'll say this. I don't want it to seem like I'm shitting on this Jake player, but, based on the match so far, I don't know if his instincts with the game are that fine-tuned. One thing, I guess, for context, this match was recorded while 2v8 was still going on at the beginning of September. And if you play 1v4 while 2v8 is going on, it sort of artificially broadens the pool of potential teammates that you'll get, since DBD prioritizes queue times over MMR. And the MMR system is incredibly flawed already, even when 2v8 isn't happening. At any rate, I don't know where the Jake is. I can just assume that he's somewhere over in this 3-gen setup, which is not where you want to be when you're injured. Jake has the right idea. He has good intentions. He definitely wants to pressure the 3-gen on this side of the map, but he's hanging out in the 3-gen injured. And there he goes down, which is probably one of the worst spots that he can go down in. But this is a very common scenario from a solo queue perspective. You're going to experience a lot of 3-gens, but the thing you want to do is pressure the 3-gen when you're healthy, because when the killer shows up to chase you off of a generator, you don't want to go down in the 3-gen setup. You want to get hit and use that distance to get away from the 3-generator setup. And hopefully the killer will follow you on a chase. And if the killer chases you across the map from the 3-gen area and you go down, that's good, because you're forcing the killer to make a decision. Like, do they want to hook you and linger near the hook and secure the hook, or do they want to go back and pressure the 3-gen setup? Don't let them do both for free. So the Jake goes down here and he gets hooked in the corner, and really, like, the match could have been over here. The Huntress could have protected his hook and this 3-gen quite easily, but she hangs him, and then she kind of goes after the Claudette, and Claudette goes down. At this point, the Huntress definitely has the upper hand when it comes to pressure. So here, you'll notice I'm kind of just, circling around like an idiot. But that's because I'm waiting for the Huntress to make a move. My next move in this moment needs to be based on her next move. If she follows me, I want to have enough distance to lead her on a chase to the right side of the map. And really, the only moves that I can make in this moment are to either buy enough time in chase for Claudette to crawl to the boon area if she wants to slug the Claudette, or if the Huntress hooks Claudette, which is what actually happens, I can go in for the save on Jake and hopefully use Floods of Rage against the Huntress. So we're armed with some information about how our opponent plays. I start moving toward the Jake when I notice that she's not following me, so I feel pretty safe to move in. If she were going to follow me, she would have done it by now. So this is where she picks up the Claudette. I'm already running toward the Jake because I don't hear her terror radius coming after me. Okay, so I know that she's going to see my aura as soon as I unhook Jake, and I want to be chased here. So when we get to this corner down here after we unhook Jake, we don't mind game it, we just run out. That's because based on how she's played earlier in the match, she's likely to send a hatchet right away, and she does, and it connects. So we unhook. She sends a hatchet right here toward Jake. That's one hatchet, just keep that in mind. She sends another here that hits, that's 2. We stop here and we pop our syringe. I want her to notice me using my syringe while she still has an aura read on me, because I kind of want to taunt her a little bit and have her try to deny me value for the syringe. So she's now almost locked into a scenario where she has to follow up with me for 16 seconds. Which is how long it takes for a syringe to activate. So yeah, she tossed 1 hatchet, there's 2. There's a third about to come right here. So right now, at most, she has 4 more hatchets to work with. If she started this chase fully loaded, we just have to avoid 4 more hatchets, wait for our syringe to pop in, and hopefully we can waste her time. The reason why we path all the way around the top side of the map over to the right side of the map is just to keep distance and time. You'll actually notice she stops right here and tries to look into this tile right here because she's assuming that I'm just going to loop this. This is a terrible no, just run, hold W against a Huntress. If you got all of this setup back here, these line of sight blockers, use this stuff. Nobody ever does this. You need to use this stuff back here on the map. This map in particular. So she's just going to send hatchets willy-nilly. And because, she is so impatient with her hatchets, that means that she's very jukeable. She's just going to send stuff. So that is number 6 that she sent. The syringe kicks in. She actually reloads here anyway. She doesn't send that 7th hatchet. Again, we're reading our opponent and using their playstyle against them. So because this Huntress is so impatient, that's why this sort of works. If we were going against a Huntress who was more deliberate and patient with her hatchet throws, this exact situation becomes a lot more risky. But again, that's what I love about macro. You're able to pull information from all sorts of sources and use that to help you formulate a plan in the moment. My ultimate goal when I started this chase was to either buy enough time for Jake to run in and unhook Claudette and reset, or buy me enough time to take the long way around the map to Claudette's hook and trade with her. Either way, when this whole scheme begins, my hope is that somebody either unhooks or does a generator. But fortunately, it buys enough time for Jake and Claudette to reset, and they're able to finish the gens. I honestly can't believe 99ing that gen worked, and she kicked it. She had no reason to kick that gen. That just bought me valuable time and distance. Again, that's what I mean. Like, you can kind of predict, like, 99ing a gen is not going to work against a lot of killers. She is a very brash killer, and she's making a lot of really weird decisions. And that's sort of why I thought, let's 99 a gen. All right, so gens are about to pop. And as soon as I'm hooked here, I can see where Claudette starts to move to pressure that gate. She starts to move toward the upper left gate, and that's where we move immediately after we get unhooked. But yeah, you know the outcome. We get out. I'm not gonna make you watch that, but oh my god, that was a lot to unpack. All right, there you have it. I hope watching this helps to give you a better idea about the basics of macro and Dead by Daylight. Are these things that you think about in your own games? Will you start to think about these things moving forward? Did you learn anything? Let me know down in the comments below, and I would genuinely be curious to know how many hours you have in the game and whether these are things that you already think about. As always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.